Al-Fatiha. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. UMC members, deans and directors, Puan Sri Masrah Abidin, members of the session in the hall, and members of the session at large via Zoom and probably YouTube. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the MURABBI Talk Series number 1 for 2020. This MURABBI Talk Series is an initiative by the university to invite different personalities to give talks on issues of concern to the university, the Ummah and the general public. For this inaugural series, on behalf of the Rector, we would like to welcome our honoured speaker, Tan Sri Professor Emeritus Kamal Hassan, back to IIUM. It's a bit weird to say that, Prof, because to most of us, you never left. You never left. Okay. I told Prof Kamal just now, he's just fallen into our trap. When he agreed to the topic today, ujung dia ada tulis introduction, that means he has to come back some more for the follow-up session. Okay. After that, he wants me to give a one-line introduction. I said, I have not done that in a long time. All I can say is that Prof Kamal has been with us, and to merely read his academic qualification would do serious injustice to his contribution, and we hope he will continue to contribute. We are very thankful for his willingness to come today. Our topic for the day is the Malay Concept of Sejahtera from an Islamic Perspective and Introduction. So to help the session, standing in for our Tan Sri Rector, who is resting, or we hope he is resting. Orang rajin kerja ni dia degil sikit kan. So I hope he's resting. We have Professor Ahmad Faris Ismail, Dean of Kuliah of Engineering, as the moderator for our session. He's worked with and for Prof Kamal Hassan, and he's the right person to steer our session today. A few reminders. Number one, I hope members in the Senate Hall, could you please turn off your cell phone or put it in silent mode. Our session will be for about 1.5 hours lah jadi. We will let Prof Kamal to talk for about 1 hour, and then we have the remainder of the time for question and answer. Due to the nature of the talk, Prof Kamal susah nak bagi respond to questions in a very short way, so probably we'll take one question from Zoom and we'll take one question from the floor in the hall. Can I remind the audience in the hall to refrain from joining Zoom? If you are in this hall, please refrain from joining Zoom because our technical audio feedbacks would disrupt our sessions. Okay lah, semua dah letih. All audience in the hall will be treated to lunch after the session. So, without further delay, I hand over the microphone to Professor Ahmad Faris to start our session.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala syarfil anbiya wa mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. So, we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for having this, I would say, very important session this morning. Let me welcome everybody, our guests, the top management of the university, my colleagues, and especially, of course, our guru, maybe the chief Murabbi, Professor Kamal Hassan. I guess for him to start the Murabbi session is befitting upon him to lead the way. Of course, being also with the university since day zero, not day one, still day zero or day -1. Yeah, -0 or -1. I think that is how Prof Kamal with the university. He has been with the university. I mean, he drafted the concept paper for the university. So I guess he is the only person in this hall that know the real vision and mission, reason for the establishment of the university. And of course, we are his students. And what we heard from him is this university is very unique, tawhidic, ummatic, rahmatan lil alamin. So I think this is what we have been learning from him for the past 37 years. So inshallah today again, I think he will extend that paradigm, that concept. And today he will be talking about the Malay concept of sejahtera from Islamic perspective. And Prof. Kamal, I think this topic is very relevant. The reason being, I would say that number one, we already have a sejahtera center in our university. Okay, that's number one. And number two, of course, the sejahtera concept also is derived from our falsafah pendidikan kebangsaan. If we read the falsafah pendidikan kebangsaan, it started with holistic education system, integrated, and to produce holistic students. And this is also in line with OSIC, or our university strategic plan on producing holistic student and holistic staff. And as a matter of fact, I think the university also is embarking on the academic review to enhance this aspect of holistic personality, holistic graduates. And to that effect, I think we have had at least a draft sejahtera academic framework that we have to start working on it. And of course, also with the recent recognition by United Nations also, we are now a regional center of expertise for ESD, for Greater Gombak. So this concept now become more important for us, like become another amanah for the university to carry on. So I think with that, we look forward to your discussion and deliberation on this Malay concept of sejahtera from Islamic perspective, inshallah. And maybe you can also touch a little bit on your vision 2077, because Prof. Kamal also now is leading the way towards our vision 2077. So maybe how sejahtera also can go into this vision 27. So with that, the floor is yours, Prof. Thank you.
Is it this one? Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh. Wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lah wa man yudlil fala hadiya lah. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. O our Lord, we do not have any knowledge except that which you have taught us. Indeed, you are the all-knowing, the all-wise. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. Professor Dr. Ahmad Faris, yang berbahagia Puan Sri Masrah Abidin, representing our beloved Rector, Tan Sri Emiretus Zulkifli, who is supposed to rest and must rest for at least 3 months, so that his soldiers can do all the work. His lieutenants, his generals, his foot soldiers, including myself, I'm willing to work also on his behalf, inshallah. After you take up all the work, then I will do the rest. We all pray, and I continue to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his speedy recovery. In fact, there are many members of my family who are also not in good health, and so praying for them and including Tan Sri is something that I have been doing very regularly. And we hope, inshallah, he will take the advice of the doctors, including my humble and sincere advice that what happened to him, although it's not something very serious, is a reminder from the Almighty that his body has a demand upon him. In the hadith of the Prophet that says that so many other things have a right upon you, and your body has a right upon you. So you should not be committing zulm upon yourself. So this is a form of his dedication, his passion for work, and all that is fine, but there is a limit to it. And so this is an indication from the Almighty that you have to take, you have to have a break. In fact, I was telling my wife and also others, I wanted to not to continue as rector when I reached 60 in this university, but it went on until 70 or I lost count. But well, anyway, so I hope, inshallah, Tan Sri Zul will really make use of this period to really take care of his heart and his body, inshallah. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, I need, of course, to recognize my other colleagues and friends who are here today. Professor Dato' Ahmad Zailan, Dato' Wan Hilmi, and also Dato' Abdur Rahim, who I understand is on Zoom. Okay, you cannot get his image here, all right. And then also, who else do we have? Around the table, of course, we have Dr. Zul, and of course, Dr. Lihana, Dr. Zainuddin, our dean of the Kuliah, and of course, Zurina, alhamdulillah. And also, Prof. Noor Farida told me that she'll be in hospital, but she'll be following the program. But I'm sorry that she has to wait for half an hour with her PhD postgraduate students. Thank you very much for inviting me to this, despite this constraining circumstances. It's always a pleasure to be here, and as I said, my body may be outside, but the soul is always with IIUM. Okay, now the title. I am going to read this paper because I didn't have time to work on a PowerPoint, and of course, it's nothing compared to what Tan Sri is able to do. I mean, his infographic skill is marvelous. I am 2 decades behind him. So I have maybe 3 decades. I have my paper on in the laptop. I didn't have even time to get the thumb drive in. So please bear with me. I'm going to read through quite fast, and at the end I will tell you what is going to follow. Human beings, irrespective of religious beliefs, generally aspire for and look forward to a life in which they are at peace and in harmony with themselves, with others, with the environment. And for those who believe in a transcendent supreme power, with the creator or God or the supreme being or the highest object of worship, veneration, depending on how the absolute is perceived or defined in the religious philosophies or worldviews. In addition to peaceful and harmonious relationships, the most desirable state of existence that humans would be pleased with is one that provides safety, peace, security, and withal a sense of inner tranquility or well-being, of joy and happiness, of success or triumph, all of which should be of enduring positive impact on their lives. Such a perception of human life and well-being is in consonance with the concept of sejahtera in the Malay language. The word sejahtera, which roughly translated into English as well-being or prosperity, is widely used in Malaysia and Indonesia as a fundamental concept of human existence, which is usually applied to various dimensions of life: physical, ecological, psychological, intellectual, emotional, economic, political, governance, educational, social, cultural, and religious. And this has been addressed many times by Tan Sri Zul when he talks of the 10 dimensions of sejahtera. Now, given its importance and central role in the building, nurturing, and sustaining of a humane, peaceful, balanced, and prosperous civilization in this period of most of mankind are currently starving for kesejahteraan, struggling against an unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic. The Malay concept of sejahtera, in the present writer's humble opinion, should be reviewed and re-examined by Muslim scholars and intellectuals for the purpose of building an alternative paradigm of holistic and sustainable development from the worldview of Tawheed. This worldview, or the German word for it, Weltanschauung, in Arabic, al-ru'yah al-kawniyah al-shamilah lil-wujud, or al-tasawwur al-kamil al-shamil, or al-nazar ila al-hayah, is founded upon a deep faith and conviction in the absolute oneness, absolute sovereignty, and absolute authority of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, SWT from now on, which is an abbreviation for glorified and exalted be He, who is not just the creator of mankind, the world and the whole cosmos, but at one and the same time, the one and only object of worship for mankind and all creatures. Sorry, I don't have the mouse. For a long time, I didn't use a mouse, so I have a problem. I need a mouse now, the good mouse. The only owner, the perpetual sustainer, the nourisher and manager of all the worlds, the all-wise provider of guidance for mankind, the absolute lawgiver, the most compassionate ruler, and the most judge of mankind and the hereafter. And all these things are forgotten by COVID-19 pandemic. The eternal life for all mankind in paradise or in perdition after the resurrection and the final judgment. His final revelation to mankind, the Quran, which was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, SAW, meaning peace and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, the exemplar par excellence of the religion of complete submission to the will of Allah, to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, al-Islam, contains the most comprehensive guide and the right way for human beings to follow, complemented by the prophetic sunnah to obtain real goodness, well-being, that is al-hasana in this world, and everlasting real goodness, well-being, al-hasana in darul akhirah, the hereafter. Thank you very much, brother, for bringing the mouse, the good mouse. As adherents of the religion of Islam, the Muslim intelligentsia, scholars, thinkers, and intellectuals who are most aware of, and that would include all of us, and most disturbed, and that will also include all of us, by the prolonged malaise of the Ummah and the acute crisis of leadership in Muslim countries. And of course, Malaysia is experiencing this deep, acute, prolonged crisis for no good reason, are expected to appreciate and internalize the importance and indispensability of this Tawhidic worldview as a general conceptual and philosophical frame of reference. We need that frame of reference. Otherwise, with the wrong frame of reference, we're going in the wrong direction in understanding the Islamic concept of holistic and comprehensive well-being, success, and happiness before they can impart, and they should impart, like Tan Sri Zul has been doing all over the world, before they can impart the correct knowledge of the concept to the Muslim privileged elites, decision makers, political leaders, professionals, administrators, academics, and students, as well as with fellow citizens of other faiths and religions. Our non-Muslim brothers and sisters need to know this as well. Muslims also owe a responsibility to share this important Islamic knowledge and vision to the multi-religious and multi-ethnic society of Malaysia. Seeking to understand an Islamic perspective of the popular Malay concept of sejahtera, although regrettably it is not possible to do justice in this brief introductory essay, brief but about 56 pages, is also premised upon the fact that many traditional and indigenous Malay concepts had undergone a process of Islamicization. It's not difficult to say Islamicization. Why? Islamicization, right? It's so difficult. Such as the words Tuhan, Islamicized to Allah, sembahyang to salat, budi pekerti to adab and akhlak, lebaran di Indonesia and Hari Raya di Malaysia to Idul Fitri or Idul Adha. Although the words Tuhan, sembahyang, budi pekerti in the Malay now have the Islamic meaning to it, and that we should not forget that. In the same way, the term sejahtera has acquired a new value-added and Islamicized meaning, namely a state of holistic well-being, success and happiness in this world and in the hereafter. So that in the hereafter is very much Islamic content. Given the fact that the belief and conviction in the future existence of mankind after death and after the day of resurrection is the second highest conviction or belief in the religion of Islam. That is why the Quran always says, Al-Iman wal-Amal Saleh. Iman and Amal Saleh. And Iman there is Iman in Allah and Al-Akhirah as the most important beliefs. They, that is, including the Muslims, have been commanded, we have been ordered, and if we attend Friday prayers, and at the end the Imam will say, Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan. Inna Allah, indeed Allah commands. Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan. Commands that we do what that is ma'ruf and prohibit that which is munkar. And so it's a command. Al-adl wal ihsan, sorry. Just and ihsan. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون إلى آخر الآية. So it's a commandment by Allah for us to do justice and to make everlasting happiness in the hereafter as the ultimate destination of the human life, not by belittling or neglecting, or worse still, abandoning the leadership and civilizational roles that are meant to be carried out by the Ummah, which is a universal Islamic community, but by making the best use of this necessary, beneficial, but brief earthly existence, with all its abundant God-given bounties. We've been reminded in the Quran again and again of these bounties of Allah, the ni'mah of Allah in the Quran, which Ar-Rahman uses the word ala. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. Which of the bounties of your Lord would you deny? And that's repeated 37 times, I think, in Ar-Rahman. For the purpose of achieving sound growth and goodness in this transient world of Al-Hayat al-Dunya, in doing so, all our deeds become ibadah. With regard to the subject of Islamicization of Malay concepts, it is interesting to reflect at this juncture that just as the Malay word for the world, bumi, which is from the Sanskrit bumi, and the Malay word shurga from Sanskrit swarga or shwarga, have also acquired Islamicized meanings in consonance with the above-mentioned worldview. Similarly, the use of the term sejahtera or kesejahteraan in the original draft formulations of the Falsafah Pendidikan Negara Of course, in 1996, they changed it to Falsafah Pendidikan Kebangsaan, was understood from the perspective of the worldview of Islam, not from the pre-Islamic secular or polytheistic perspectives. It is useful for the present-day students, and I hope students will follow this also, and the Malaysian younger generation, if the present writer, if I were to recall, the exciting historical background and really exciting at that time, an experience in Malaysian politics of the late 1980s, when some Malay Muslim academics of UKM, IIUM, including the present writer, IAB and ABIM, were approached separately by the Ministry of Education at that time, under the leadership of Tan Sri Wan Zahid, at that time Dr. Wan Zahid, to contribute to drafting of the first Falsafah Pendidikan Negara in 1988. As Muslim academics and activists, they were most conscious of the Islamic meanings of Malay terminologies when they consented to the use of the words kesejahteraan diri, kepercayaan dan kepatuhan kepada Tuhan, without any reference to Islam in the falsafah text. Bearing in mind that since the falsafah was meant for the whole multi-religious citizens and nation of Malaysia, they did not insist nor wanted to impose unilaterally the Islamic interpretation of the words insan yang seimbang dan harmonis, rohani, dan kepercayaan dan kepatuhan kepada Tuhan, sejahtera, and others. This was the compromise they were willing to concede in good faith, despite the fact that the Minister of Education at that time, YB Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, was well known as a prominent young Islamist Malay politician and former Islamic youth leader, while new government policies or initiatives then had to be in line with the policy of penerapan nilai-nilai Islam, which was introduced by Dr. Mahathir when he became the Prime Minister in 1981, and then co-opted at that time known as Saudara Anwar Ibrahim in 1982 to become his political partner, supporter, and Islamic protagonist. Now, all that is history. We are seeing a completely different scenario. That's in the footnote. Now, as a small footnote, this historical event in the Malaysia of resurgent Islam, Western writers talk at that time of the resurgence of Islam in the 70s, including Zainah Anwar, the leader of Sisters in Islam. Okay. This event reminds the present writer of the great political compromise, also made in good faith in the newly born Republic of Indonesia, and I followed this quite closely, that leaders of Masyumi, and I knew them, especially Pak Natsir and Pak Prawoto Mangkusasmito, Pak Sukiman Wiryo Sanjoyo, considered in the early 1950s in the final formulation of Pancasila. Now, Malaysian students and Indonesians need to know this, that there was always a compromise of Muslims for the sake of the minority, not for the sake of the majority. The official ideology, the first pillar of Pancasila, Ketuhanan Yang Maha Esa, was the compromise considered by the Islamic political party leaders to accommodate the stand of the minority Christian leaders. At that time, Christians were about maybe not more than 5%. Although Muslims were the overwhelming majority, constituting about 90% of the population at that time, but the Christian leaders opposed the idea of Negara Islam, so the Masyumi had to abandon Negara Islam concept, or to the Islamic monotheistic notion of God as advocated by Masyumi. And you can see this in this excellent book of Boland, The Struggle of Islam in Modern Indonesia. By the way, Boland was also part of the Christian church at that time, but he gave a very good objective study of the history. And bearing in mind, I think this is the more significant thing for the present, bearing in mind that Islam has the largest number of adherents in Southeast Asia, that Muslim culture is a dominant culture of the region, and that Muslim communities throughout the region prefer a life of selamat dan sejahtera for the present as well as for the future generations, Muslim Southeast Asia, in our humble opinion, could represent in the near future a good model of the sejahtera paradigm of wholesome and holistic human and national development, which is inclusive of peaceful inter-religious coexistence and the Malaysian vision of shared prosperity in the context of plurality of cultures, religions, and political systems in ASEAN. I think we in ASEAN should work for this. With regard to the intellectual discourse on sejahtera in contemporary Malaysian context, no one, to the best of my knowledge, has been as active, as persistent, as innovative, and as prolific, and maybe Puan Sri might add, as stubborn, both locally and internationally, in advocating and propagating the importance of the value and virtue of sejahtera in education, sustainable development goals, restructuring of roles of universities, higher education, and he never tired of talking about all this. Then Tan Sri Professor Emeritus Dr. Zulkifli Abdur Razak, the rector of IIUM. So I hope Tan Sri will continue to take rest for another 3 months. Puan Sri will do your job. It is noteworthy that this Mahaguru of Sejahtera launched his intellectual and educational jihad, a word which he never used, I think, because he's afraid he might be seen as a terrorist. But the word jihad means striving in the best possible manner. During his leadership of USM as its 5th Vice-Chancellor, then as President of Asahil, then as President of Universitas 21, and International Association of Universities, IIAU. He was awarded the Gilbert Medal, the highest honor bestowed by Universitas 21, in recognition of his long-term commitment to an integrated approach to internationalization, to a sustainable sejahtera, and that's part of the text, approach to international higher education, and his tireless work to support and develop the clearly good public good dimension of higher education, as well as his being distinctive in his willingness to challenge Western knowledge systems. This is part of Islamicization of human knowledge that we in IIU have been doing, challenging the dominant paradigm, which is not in line with the Tawhidic paradigm. What is in line, we don't have any problem. We benefit a lot from Western knowledge or Eastern knowledge, which is in conformity, not against the Islamic values. Okay, now, Prof. Zul explains this historical background of sejahtera as follows. It was in USM as part of the impetus to ignite transformational mindset changes of his students and his staff. Then I come to the linguistic definition and connotations of sejahtera in the Malay language by using Kamus Dewan, aman dan makmur, senang dan tenteram, terpelihara daripada bencana. Menjadikan sejahtera berarti mengamankan, menyelamatkan. And Kamus Besar Bahasa Indonesia defines sejahtera more or less in the same way, aman, sentosa, dan makmur. Selamat terlepas dari segala macam gangguan. Dan kesejahteraan, hal atau keadaan sejahtera, keamanan, keselamatan, ketentraman. According to one Indonesian writer, Agustina, sejahtera, in my opinion, is a process of social existence which is safe, tranquil, peaceful, just, and prosperous. Okay. And then, now, we do not use this in Malaysia, but Indonesia has been using this. Negara Kesejahteraan, because they came up with the idea of a welfare state. So, Negara Kesejahteraan, the welfare state theory, is in harmony with the basic policy of the Indonesian state, which talks of kesejahteraan, the rule of law, human rights, social justice, and absence of discrimination, atau diskriminasi. Now, I come to the elaboration of the meaning and connotation of sejahtera by Tan Sri Professor Emeritus Dr. Zul. Prof. Zul elucidates the comprehensive scope and force of the social implications of the concept of sejahtera when it is understood in the context of the 10 intertwined dimensions of which he has made into acronym of SPICES: spiritual, physical, intellectual, cultural, cognitive, emotional, ecological, environmental, and so on. And he also explained that sejahtera in the Malay language is not easily rendered into other languages because it is comprehensive in meaning, it's multi-layered, and so it has several nuances. It is human-centric, but it is in fact beyond prosperity and well-being. It is human-centric in that it spans the macrocosmic and microcosmic nexus. This is something actually metaphysically quite deep, because from the spiritual Islamic tradition, the man is supposed to be a microcosm which has the macrocosm in him. So we have the whole universe within us. That's going into another area, it's tasawwuf lah. So that requires another lecture. Invite me for that. Okay. Then he explained that it was, okay, blah, blah, blah. And this idea of humanizing education, because Tan Sri Zul has been in the forefront in Malaysia, along with other intellectuals in UNESCO, in promoting this vision of humanizing education. And we're doing that in IIUM now, and for Insan Sejahtera. In promoting and championing the concept of sejahtera, Prof. Zul frequently and passionately invokes the important historic document, which he says to be given a new lease of life, called the FPK, Falsafah Pendidikan Kebangsaan, first formulated in 1988 and then slightly modified in 1996. So he says the FPK clearly promotes the values of balanced, seimbang, and harmonious as an outcome of education that is insan sejahtera. And this concept is also being propagated in USIM and now in Malaysia, in IIUM. And these are emerging concepts that have begun to find their way in UNESCO with the ESD program. Now, this is a very important paper, that a chapter in a book, which I think our academic staff and certainly the centers will have to read. Decolonizing, he wrote this chapter, decolonizing the paradigm of sustainable development should not be there, it's my mistake, through the traditional concept of sejahtera. Decolonizing is another dimension of Islamicization of human knowledge, except that we did not really talk much about it in our university, but decolonization of the human mind, which the late Prof. Syed Hussein Alatas talked about, is part of the mission of Islamicization of human knowledge. So in this book, Tan Sri Zul refers to the Sanskrit etymology of the Malay language and says that today sejahtera is more often associated with the idea of balanced well-being and coexistence with common shared values. But its essential meaning is beyond well-being of individuals, institutions, organizations, and society. He explains how this work from the Sanskrit sadhya, sudatra, and suchitra. But he says, regardless of the etymology of the word, the very core of the Sejahtera concept, as understood in Malay society, in Malay maritime at that time, or you might say delta-based Malay society kingdoms, were also used in building up the governmental structure of Malay kingdom. So Sejahtera was also part of that historical, sociological development of Malay society. Then he says that taken together, the status of Sejahtera can be described as a balanced lifestyle summarized by at least 10 different elements which I mentioned earlier, the spices. You can read this in this book. Very good book, edited by Fadiva, Galkute, and Choka. Prof. Zul reiterates the importance of the harmonious and integrated relationship of the 10 dimensions of Sejahtera, which would include collaborative relationship, in particular embraces compassion, empathy. These are spiritual values of Islam, and the uncompromising spirit of oneness, which is also and plus also the threat of global warming and you might say now the emergency of climate change, the global emergency, the unprecedented occurrence of crisis after crisis, and now of course we can add COVID-19 crisis, cannot be handled effectively without nurturing the relationship that binds people via a set of common values and ethics. Now, thanks to this is what I want to say finally about what Tan Sri Zul has been doing, thanks to the persistence, dedication, and smart advocacy efforts of Prof. Zul and his remarkable achievements in getting USM to become an Apex University and also RCE, to implement ESD, the concept of Sejahtera became a transnational Asia-Pacific concept. For this, Tan Sri Zul should get a title, Panglima Bahasa or something? Panglima, Munshi? Antarabangsa, because it has gone to Korea, at least, and also maybe some African countries by now. Hopefully in Brazil also, after they get over the crisis. The concept of Sejahtera became a transnational Asia-Pacific concept when South Korea started the Sejahtera project before us in 2011, which comprised of an eco park and the Sejahtera Center. I don't know how they would say Sejahtera. The Japanese cannot say R, isn't it? Or the Chinese, Sejahtera, Sejahtera. The Koreans, boleh ke sebut sejahtera? I don't know. Huh? Tak tahulah. Anyway, but they wrote it correctly. Pronouncing will be a bit difficult for the Japanese with sejahtera or the Chinese. Networking Committee and Sejahtera Fellowship Program of the Asia-Pacific RCEs. This has transformed the concept of Sejahtera from a Malay word into a universal terminology. Alhamdulillah, and thanks to Tan Sri for that. Naturally, Prof. Zul was overjoyed when the Sejahtera Center and the Sejahtera Forest were officially opened in Tongyong in South Korea in 2015. And he said came out in this newspaper also, I think, in NST. Nothing is more satisfying than an idea that is translated into reality, especially a rather abstract one, as a form of social innovation. We are again grateful to Tan Sri Zul for achieving, amidst the Corona control movement order, I don't know how he escaped this control movement, another feather in the cap of IIUM, or in the songkok of IIUM, namely the official recognition by UNESCO of its being a new RCE for Greater Gombak area. Alhamdulillah. Now, on the Sejahtera Forest, this is what Tan Sri Zul says, but for time's sake, I will have to skip that. And in leading and championing Sejahtera discourse in Malaysia, Prof. Zul initiated the Sejahtera Leadership Initiative in USIM to address the ESD issue, and then also he advocated the formation of SLIs, Sejahtera Leadership initiatives in African countries during his African visits, and then he established the Sejahtera Center in IIUM for Sustainability and Humanity, headed by the chairman is here, Dr. Zainal, to promote the mission of humanizing education through maqasid al-sharia and sustainable development. So he is right into the sharia. His inclusion of the maqasid al-sharia principles in the Sejahtera concept has no doubt reinforced the Islamic interpretation and legitimacy of the concept. With regard to the socioeconomic aspect of national well-being, Tan Sri Zul corrected the misconceptions of some people, including a minister at that time, on memastikan kesejahteraan rakyat, which was confined only to the socioeconomic well-being. From his perspective, the term socioeconomic well-being limits the scope of the meaning of quality of life, which is invariably a spiritual being. A man as a spiritual being has been emphasized by Tan Sri in many of his discourses. Then the formation of Sejahtera Education Advocates, which is, again, a very important forum for Muslims and non-Muslim scholars to get together. While emphasizing the importance of actualizing the values of Insan Sejahtera, Sejahtera man, which stem from his or her spiritual essence and identity with the qalb, and Tan Sri Zul, since I think being associated with ACAPT and also with USIM, the qalb driven leadership became a very important point in his talks. So Tan Sri Zul in IIUM incorporates the IIUM vision and mission of triple I's. Of course, he gives a current contemporary interpretation to that, which is very good. Prof. Zul continues to remind his audience of the centrality of the spiritual core of man in the domains of higher education, educational leadership, and sustainable development. And this is where our mosque, our masjid, has been playing a key role under the leadership of Prof. Akmal. By topping up the discourse late last year, and he was here, I think he was sitting somewhere here, the discourse of Sejahtera with the concept of Rahmatan lil Alameen, a move which I appreciated and applauded, wrong spelling, applauds, because for too long that divinely ordained prophetic mission has been neglected in the national development of Malaysia. And just because we have a different change of government, that does not mean Quranic concept will have to follow, will have to play also the political game. Rahmatan lil Alameen must stay forever, irrespective of who is in the government. even non-Muslim governments, has been neglected. Okay, and Zul is, in fact, to my mind, this is my interpretation, is putting across the IIUM platform a new civilizational grand narrative. And that word grand narrative is disliked, deconstructed by all the postmodernists. And to them, there's no more grand narrative. But we need the grand narratives. And the grand narrative from the Quran must be projected, defended, spread out, and also given to the postmodernists. To reorient the mindset of those Muslim elites in Malaysia and other Muslim countries who are stuck, as it were, in the quagmire of global systemic turmoil, of corruption, of political international hypocrisy, of mass delusions come deceptions. The reorientation, re-education, and intellectual reform of Muslim elites, leaders, policymakers, and most importantly, politicians are necessary for the Ummah to switch to a new trajectory of blessed, holistic, and integral growth, which is designed and programmed to achieve goodness and well-being in this world, hasana fid dunya, and attain by the grace of Allah divine pleasure, ridwan Allah, and true happiness, as-sa'ada, in the hereafter with hasana fil akhirah. I come now to part 4. I have 8 parts, so another 4 parts to go. It is an introduction. This is another deception from Kamal. Okay. I try to be very fast, inshallah, yeah? Prof. Faris. Huh? So please wake up. Now we come to the Quran. Taking into consideration first the lexical definition of Sejahtera, and then also the intellectual articulation and reconceptualization in Prof. Zul's discourse on Sejahtera. The present writer did a brief survey of the Quranic scripture and worldview in search of the Islamic concept which corresponds most adequately to the Islamicized. Which is better? Should I use paper or just kayu to get this mouse? Maybe the mouse is hungry. Huh? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. You need an engineer always to help. The present writer did a brief survey in search of the Islamic concept which corresponds most adequately to the Islamicized Malay concept of Sejahtera. We identified the concept al-falah, an Arabic terminology with wide connotations, just like the concept of Sejahtera in Malay, as the most appropriate conceptual equivalent of the post-Islamicized conception of Sejahtera. It is proper and timely, in our view, to revisit the concept of al-falah. After having written a small essay on it in 1990, I wrote this Nilai-Nilai Universal Islam tentang kesejahteraan, in which I highlighted the importance of al-falah and its antithesis, al-khusran. And it was printed by the Ministry of Higher Education. Of course, it's out of print. In the Quran, the word muflihun, those endowed with al-falah, connotes one at the same time those who will attain prosperity, those who will be truly successful, those who will attain happiness. And this overlaps with the meanings of Sejahtera. And those who will achieve the supreme triumph. Of course, this is not in Sejahtera, because this supreme triumph, al-fawzul azim, is only in the hereafter, not in this world. Allah uses al-fawz only in the hereafter, that is, in the end. It is stated in the Lisan al-Arab, which is the most authoritative dictionary of Arabic language, The al-falah means success, salvation, and permanence of an-na'im. I put that happiness, tranquility, comfort, peace, all in one. Because no one word can translate. Just like sejahtera, no one word can do justice to its full meanings. And al-khair. It is said that the people of al-Jannah are called muflihun because of their joyful achievement of permanence here, of eternal baqa, baqa of something, of happiness of time. I think falahud dahr. Okay, this is taken from Muqawwimat al-Falah fil Quran al-Karim, a very, very good study by an Azhari scholar. Then, of course, another reason is the fact that the adhan calls us to both happiness in this world and in hereafter. There's no other word in the Arabic language than falah, which conveys this idea of hasana fid dunya and hasana fil akhirah. And so, the adhan was formulated and of course inspired by God, because this is a permanent call, that hayya ala al-falah, which is translated by many Arabic scholars, halumma ala baqa'il khair, hasten to that which shall bring you permanence of goodness and well-being through as-salah. Then the meanings of aflaha, al-falah, al-muflihun, and here I'm taking mainly from Ibn Manzur and also from Lane's lexicon, which is the most authoritative dictionary of Arabic language in the non-Arabic language. Al-fawz bima yughtabatu bihi wa fihi salah al-hal. Also, al-fawz wal-najah wal-baqa fi al-na'im wal-khair. This is from Ibn Manzur. Also, okay, then Al-Raghib Al-Isfahani in his Al-Mufradat fi Gharib Al-Quran says, Al-Falah is of two kinds, dunyawi and ukhrawi. As for dunyawi, it refers to the attainment of happy state, which worldly life makes it pleasant, survival, fame and so on. And ukhrawi Al-Falah, while the ukhrawi Al-Falah constitutes conditions such as permanence without annihilation, wealth without poverty, fame without ignominy, knowledge without ignorance. And then Sheikh Dr. Ali Al-Qaradaghi, who is the secretary of the International Union of Muslim Scholars, explains Al-Falah as having a number of aspects and dimensions. It embraces all the constituents of man and life because it is a comprehensive concept of spiritual, psychological, and physiological happiness. As-sa'ada al-ruhiyya, as-sa'ada al-zahiriyya, as-sa'ada... Okay, I cannot remember the Arabic text now. It could also be, he says, be seen as a concept of al-quwwa al-maddiyya wal-ma'nawiyya. That is material and moral strengths, covering the zahir and batin and so on. As for al-falah, as understood in worldly systems, it says it is confined only to the outer, the zahir aspect of life, without the inner, without the batin aspect, to the body and sensual enjoyments, without the spiritual. Therefore, al-falah in worldly perspective is just external happiness, as-sa'ada al-zahiriyya, happiness of wealth, sa'adatul mal, happiness of sex, sa'adatul al-jins, al-mata' al-hayat al-dunya. Another reason for the choice of al-falah is the fact that, I mentioned this just now, is that the Arabic lexicographers say that there's no other single word in the Arabic other than al-falah which signifies goodness in this world and goodness in the hereafter, and salvation from the torment of the fire. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Okay, all right. Now I come to another meaning of aflaha. The noun al-falah means all this, prosperity, blah blah blah, all that. The term al-muflihun refers to all this, and then the word al-muflihun is being used in the Quran with the expression قد أفلح, like in Surah Al-Mu'minun, قد أفلح المؤمنون الذين هم في صلاتهم خاشعون إلى آخر الآية, such as number 1 in that ayah, in that Surah Al-Mu'minun, from 1 to 8, Allah refers to people who practice no, sorry, this is another one. Okay, it's here. Those who have khushu' الذين هم في صلاتهم خاشعون. Those who have khushu' in their prayers. والذين هم عن اللغو معرضون. They avoid indulgence and frivolities and vanities. والذين هم للزكاة فاعلون. They are constant in the acts of self-purification. Then also والذين هم لفروجهم حافظون. They guard and preserve their modesty and sexual integrity. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِأَمَانَاتِهِمْ وَعَهْدِهِمْ رَاعُونَ. They fulfill all their trust faithfully and their pledges and so on. And they strictly guard their وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَوَاتِهِمْ يُحَافِظُونَ. Now, believers with the above qualities and characteristics are promised al-Jannah by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a reward for their righteous conduct and good deeds. And the other means, there are many means of attaining falah, just as there are 10 means of attaining sejahtera in Tan Sri Zul's discourse or narrative. One is by doing da'wah bil khair. Second is by al-jihad fi sabilillah bi amwalihim wa anfusihim, striving with one's wealth and selves for the sake of Allah, and making sure that on the day of judgment, on the balance of deeds, on this mizanul a'mal, it is the weight of good deeds outweigh that of bad deeds. And then the ability to conquer your selfishness, shuhun nafs, the covetousness of the self, by preferring others. This is ithar. And then obeying Allah and the Prophet in upholding the Sharia positively. Being considered as belonging to the partisans of Allah, Hizbullah, not party of Allah, because Allah doesn't like political parties, but partisans of Allah. The word used is Hizbullah, but Hizb in the pre-modern period is different from the postmodern period. Postmodern period is a lot of chaos and headaches and crisis. But in the postmodern period, it's something good. It can also be bad if it is Hizbul Shaitan. Okay. Then in a room also helping needy relatives and others. Okay. Then Allah says, لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. Maybe you will have the chance to get al-falah. How? By not practicing riba, by having sabr and fasbiru, warabitu, constancy, by always fearing the displeasure of Allah, by abstaining from intoxicants, games of chance, and loathsome allurements of Satan. I think for intoxicants, those with drug problems, need to take note of this, including our students. And to be always cautious and mindful of the displeasures of Allah, so as to be able to resist bad things, even if they appear to be enticing, especially for the ulul albab. Okay. and repentance. And after you pray Jum'ah, get out of the mosque, okay? And look for the bounties of Allah through economic, financial, entrepreneurial, business, what have you, as long as they're halal and for good purpose. So Allah wants you, when the prayer is finished, فَانْتَصِرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَانْتَشِرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَابْتَغُوا مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ. Okay. All right. Then Allah, mashallah, He makes everything so clear. La yuflihu. He says, these people are not going to get falah. And who are they? The zalimun. And there are many types of zulm. The mujrimun. Many types of jirim. The sahirun. Not a big problem for us, but during the time of Musa alayhi salam, it was a big problem. Because Fir'aun used magicians to support him. Today, who do we use to support us? Huh? Businessmen. Huh? Al-kafirun also. And then also, الَّذِينَ يَفْتَرُونَ عَلَى اللَّهِ الْكَذِبَ. These are the people who attribute their own inventions and falsehoods to Allah. This refers basically to the Ahlul Kitab who used to change, modify the words of Allah and then say this is from Allah. Okay? Because modern people don't do this, but modern people come up with what they say is supposed to be worshipped, and that's even worse. Now we come to the highest goal in life, beyond falah, is ibtigha ridwan Allah or mardatillah or ridallah. Okay. The scholars of Islam are conscious that among those blessings or favors reserved for the believers, the greatest blessing for them in this world and in the hereafter is to be the fortunate, the lucky, the blessed recipients of Allah's ridwan. Rida, ridwan, mardatillah. After striving sincerely and wholeheartedly in the cause of Allah, fi sabilillahi bi amwalihim wa anfusihim. This realization has led several contemporary scholars to first affirm al-falah as a primary goal of personal and societal reconstruction, without forgetting that seeking the pleasure, approval, and goodly acceptance of Allah, ibtigha mardatillah, or ibtigha ridwanillah, or ibtigha ridallah, should accompany all Muslims' efforts of striving for happiness, prosperity, well-being, welfare, all kinds of sejahtera, or sustainable development. So this is the additional spiritual condition. Because when you get the ridwan of Allah, then you get all the best in it. Of course, we should not entertain getting His wrath. That is why in Ramadan, remember the most popular dua in Ramadan that we're being taught? Allahumma inna na'udhu bika minal Allahumma inna na'udhu bika minal that also dua during this during the turunnya apa ni malam Lailatul Qadar. Allahumma inna Allahumma inna nas'aluka ar-ridha nas'aluka ridaka wal jannah wa na'udhu bika min sakhatika wan nar. So sakhat is the displeasure of Allah. You know? So we want to get Allahumma inna nas'aluka ridaka wal jannah, ridaka, your ridwan, and al jannah. And then na'udhu bika min sakhatika, your wrath, your displeasure. Okay? And an-nar. So Allah is there for all of us But for the rest of the secular, atheistic, agnostic world, materialistic world, there's no Allah. And this pandemic, I think, is a wake-up call that there is a higher being, and not just creator, but sustainer. Okay, then this Ridwan value is important because it has to do with the niyyah. So everything is based upon niyyah in Islam. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. So if the niyyah is wrong, even if the things are good, it doesn't count with Allah. So niyyah must be based on seeking the pleasure of Allah. Not, as Tan Sri said in his speeches, not in order to be renewed as rector, not in order to become Tan Sri or whatever. He said this. Of course, he is being renewed, alhamdulillah. So, Tan Sri, take a good rest. You've been renewed already. Oh, he's not aware. Tan Sri, Puan Sri kena tahu lah. I never had any problem with that from the very beginning. That's why I told him, I told Zul, I kata Zul, you can't do all this in 2 years. When he came, I wanted to do this, not buat tu, not buat ni. Zul, you cannot do this in 2 years. You need 10 years. Tak apalah, he gets another 5 years. Mungkin sambung lagi lah. Bagus juga orang-orang politik ni, menteri-menteri ni kan. They should know how to distinguish between mana antah, mana beras. Okay, this has to do with niyyah, very important niyyah. After that, it is amal. And then wasail, the means, the asbab. In Arabic, it's called asbab. Asbab. Asbab bukan sebab-sebab, tapi the means. Cara untuk sampai kepada matlamat itu. That is berkaitan dengan ridwan Allah. Also, and then dengan hadaf, tujuan, gharad, the goal, objective. Diredha oleh Allah. We have to ask all these 3 questions. Niat di mana? Niat untuk apa? Wasilah atau asbab itu bagaimana? Dan kemana hendak dituju? The Islamic principle of pursuing what constitutes al-maslahah as opposed to mafsadah, haram, makruh, all within the framework of maqasid al-sharia is also to be involved. And alhamdulillah, Tan Sri, when he brought in the idea of maqasid al-sharia, maybe this is from USIM juga, maqasid al-sharia, then you have to deal with maslahah, mafsada, haram, makruh, halal, and all that. Al-khair, al-shar. So it has to be involved in all developmental, reformational, reconstructional, or civilizational efforts. And Tan Sri Zul is involved in all these efforts. This Islamic normative approach, which is entirely different from the secular, agnostic, or atheistic approaches, is part and parcel of the implementation of the ummatic mission of al-amru bil ma'ruf wa nahyu anil munkar, doing all that which is halal, prohibiting that which is munkar and haram, and seeking the ridwan Allah. And these are some of the verses of the Quran which contain the phrase ridwan Allah. Okay. Al-Baqarah, Al-Mujadilah, At-Tawbah, Al-Baqarah, At-Tawbah. Okay. Now, we need to mention at this point that the blessings of Al-Falah and Ridwan of Allah are conferred by the all-wise sustainer of the cosmos only upon those who are considered to be al-mu'minun. So this indicates that through faith, Iman is the single fundamental prerequisite for the attainment of the two most. Kalau tak ada iman, sorry, ataupun iman yang sesat, iman yang tidak sesuai dengan tauhid pun tak boleh lah. So you cannot get sejahtera without that, from the Islamic perspective. But sejahtera could also be seen from the non-Islamic perspective. And I suppose the Koreans are looking at it from the non-Islamic perspective. Otherwise, they will say, Tan Sri Zul, you want to Islamize us, ka? Okay, so this fundamental spiritual quality in the paradigm of Tawheed must be complemented by Amal Salih, or what the Quran says, Al-Baqiyatus Salihat. That is the righteous works of enduring value. Enduring, very important. Or with Makarimul Akhlaq and Husnul Khuluq. Da'wah ila al-khair, al-amr bil-ma'ruf. Okay, now we come to number 6. Dah nak habis dah ni. Boleh bangunlah. Siap makanan. Now the values of taqwa, ihsan and hubbullah ni tambah lagi. Rupanya kena tambah lagi. Tapi dah ada dah. In addition to the two fundamental values of iman and amal salih, remember, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Iman and amal salih. But in iman, dah ada, dah concept taqwa, ihsan and all that. It is embedded in that. Yeah. But the Quran highlights it. So we need to highlight so that those who do not know the Quran will know that it's not just mere iman. Yeah? It's not just mere amal salih. There's a deep meaning of iman and deep meaning of amal salih there. And that refers to taqwa, ihsan, and hubbullah. Hubbullah, cinta kepada Allah. This concept cinta jarang ditekankan. Except by young people, but that is for selfish purposes, not for spiritual purposes, cinta and all that. But cinta is the most profound attribute of the believer. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. Those who have iman in Allah have the greatest love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Susah juga kita tu. Are we there yet? But there are stages lah kan. To reach the highest, the Prophet boleh lah. Kita yang bawah-bawah, duduk bawah, tak apalah. As long we are upon the ladder and not against the ladder. These three spiritual ethical values are actually the higher and finer degrees of iman and salih. So with that, then we need to avoid the sakhat of Allah or the ghadab of Allah. Okay. Now, just to stress the importance of taqwa, why is it that every Friday prayer, the condition of taqwa must be there in almost all madhabs? In Shafi'i, mesti ada. Ittaqillah ke macam-macam mana mesti ada. So you begin, ya ayyuhalladzina amanu taqullaha haqqa tuqatih wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. Dan macam-macam lagi kan? Ya ayuhan nas usikum bi taqwallah, macam-macam. Why taqwa? It's so essential. But it has also immediate rewards, and that is why kedai-kedai mamak ada taruh ayat-ayat ni. Ayat 1000 dinar ni. Kedai mamak bukan dia ingat Tuhan sangat, dia nakkan duit dinar tu masuk. Please don't tell me to kedai mamak, otherwise they'll ban me because I like chapati and tauseh, you know, for breakfast. Tapi di belakang kedai ada lah ayat 1000 dinar tu kan. Jadi what you follow this in Surah At-Talaq. Surah At-Talaq. It says Allah will, if you وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ so and so مَخْرَجًا وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِ يُسْرًا. Make things easy. وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ يكفر عنه سيئاته ويعظم أجره, will erase the evil deeds and magnify the rewards. Hebat. Patutlah pasang dinding. And will save you from calamities on earth. This is among the immediate rewards, the immediate consequences. Tapi dengan syarat betul-betul lah, kan? Bukan for the dinar. Okay. And the scholars, ini termasuk kita lah. We come into this. Okay. Expect the scholars, the ulama, and we are all ulama. Those who specialize in religious knowledge are ulama. Those who specialize in worldly knowledge also are ulama, based on iman in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because Allah says in the Quran, you remember very well at the end of that Surah Fatir 35 ayat 28, innama yakhsha Allah min ibadihi al-ulama. So ulama ni yang kata tuk lebay di masjid aja. UIA academics ulama, kan? What about administrators? Tak masuk ulama lah. Tapi dia masuk bab lain lah, ulul albab. Dia lagi tinggi. Ulul albab. Ulul amri dia lagi tinggi. Ati'ullah, ati'ur rasul wa ulul amri minkum. Jadi administrator lagi tinggi daripada ulama. Ulul albab dan ulul amri, dan taat pada Allah, taat pada Rasul, taat kepada pemegang-pegang kuasa di kalangan kamu. Masuklah. Okay. Okay, then we have all that. Now, true scholars, after all, kalau kita masih tak ingat, the Prophet reminds us in a very long hadith, innal ulama warathatul anbiya. Ejaan di sini salah ya. Warathatul anbiya. Transliteration needs to be corrected. Innal ulama, sesungguhnya scholars are the inheritors of the anbiya. Tinggi itu. And this is a sahih hadith. Then the ihsan. Ihsan also, you know the famous hadith Jibril, kan? Islam, iman, ihsan. Okay, so that is part and parcel of Islam. You must have the three. You must have Islam, iman, ihsan to be a Muslim. Lepas tu yang lain-lain tu bonus lah, extra. Okay. So, but ihsan is mentioned there, and adl and ihsan. Adl comes first. That we have to do because according to just. Ihsan is going beyond what is just, going beyond what is required by law. Sebab itu dia suruh kita give ihsan to our parents. But kalau by law, mungkin you just need to send a check every month, kan? Take hospitals, but ihsan going beyond that. After obeying Allah and obeying the Prophet, then you give ihsan to your parents. So hubbullah is very, very important, and we cannot forget this. We must emphasize this, because with hubbullah we can carry out rahmatan lil alamin. The mission rahmatan lil alamin, we can carry it out. With hubbullah, hubbul insan also, loving the hubbul khalq, the creatures of Allah. Okay, because they are creatures of the same Allah. They have the fitrah, so we have to love them as well. Does not mean we have to ignore the bad things, but essentially it's out of love. Our interaction, communication is driven by love, and this is where the great Sufis, including especially Rumi, as the philosopher of love, and Iqbal took it from Rumi and saying, Allah created all of this out of love. Out of love. He created the whole cosmos, including us, with all the bounties, out of love, without expecting anything in return. Okay, so that must be incorporated in our programs, yeah, in our discourses. Of course, all this is Greek to those who are familiar only with the secular perspective or secular programs. So is Islam, Iman, Taqwa, Ihsan, Hubbullah must be included in our discourses, programs, and our personal development and all that. Otherwise, it's not complete. Boleh masuk syurga juga, but not maybe the highest. Masuk syurga ni mudah sangat. Okay. Mana ni? Ha? Habis dah? Lapar dah? Tak boleh gerak dah? Macam mana ni? Ha? Cuba ya, Prof. Battery, okay. Okay. Gas sikit, eh? Okay, so, sorry? Okay, fine. So, we have to do all this, ibadah, because Allah created us liya'budun, for ibadah. We have to also be khalifa, because Allah wants us, had put us here to be khalifa. And then Allah wants us to clean ourselves. Tazkiyah, yuzakkihim, wa yu'allimuhumul kitaba wal hikmah, yuzakkihim, tazkiyah. And then islah, to do all that, all the good things. Because there is fasad, then we must bring islah. There's a lot of fasad in the world. We must, and then Umran is part of Khilafah, is to design. This is where our engineers come in, architects come in, to design, construct, build, develop, nourish a virtuous human civilization. So our job is not to just stay in the mosque, zikir, bilang buat tasbih, then do all the sunnat things, and leave the Umran and the Khilafah to non-Muslims. Khairiyah wasatiyah is another mission. Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas. Satu. وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ. Umat syahadah, umat yang menampilkan sifat-sifat kesempurnaan, keadilan, adil, kecemerlangan, khair, and then i'tidal, al-mizan, al-tawazun, al-tawassut, that is balance, bukan kesederhanaan. Okay, rahmatan lil alamin must come in, because that is a prophetic mission, and we carry that mission. And the scholars are the warathatul anbiya, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Okay, so, okay. And then I remember Khurram Murad in his book, a great brother Khurram Murad, in his early hours reflection on spiritual, very good, which he conducted at Leicester. In the morning he would make all these speeches, and I took this from him. Then we say dua iftitah, we have dua iftitah, and we say, inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mati lillahi rabbil alamin la sharika lahu bidhalika umirtu wa ana. Of course, for us we say minal muslimin, for the Prophet wa ana awwalul muslimin. So this should be the motto of all of us from the Islamic perspective lah. From the pre-Islamic, non-Islamic perspective, tak payahlah. Okay, now we come to the antithesis, the opposite of khusran. And this is where our discourse on sejahtera should also talk about sangsara, kesengsaraan. Jangan cakap sejahtera saja. Macam mana sengsara? Kan? Ada juga aspek sangsara, kesengsaraan. So kesejahteraan tak boleh pergi sama-sama dengan kesengsaraan. So cari jalan how to jangan sangsara. Jangan sangsara. Sangsara from the Sanskrit word, of course, refers. Sanskrit words ni banyak merujuk kepada deities, female deities, Tuhan-Tuhan perempuan. Bagusnya dia letak banyak perempuan-perempuan jadi Tuhan. Dan samsara is one of them. Tapi it's not supposed to suffer kan. Mungkin she takes care of people who suffer lah agaknya. Okay. Jadi al-khusran very important. Dalam Quran banyak sekali cakap al-khusran. Awal-awal lagi di Mekah, wal asri innal insana lafi khusrin. By time or observe the passage of time, and you will realize that indeed human beings are in state of grave loss, except those who have true faith and work good deeds and enjoin one another to the promotion of truth and enjoin one another with patience and perseverance in the pursuit of truth. Awal-awal lagi, di zaman Mekah lagi, menjelaskan. Kamu, wahai orang-orang Mekah yang kaya, yang sombong, yang egoistik, yang selfish, blah, 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 you are in great loss, even with your wealth. Sebab Allah menggunakan, this is another wisdom of Allah. Dia menggunakan banyak istilah-istilah ekonomi. Sebab the Meccans were business people, were in commerce, commercial. And Mecca is a commercial entrepôt center. So Allah guna istilah-istilah commercial, khusran, falah, you know, all that. Al-fawz, victory. Tijara, yeah, tijara. And shall I tell you of a tijara? You know, that will not, it's not going to fail at all. So this is to penetrate the hearts of the Meccan Quraysh. So in the Malay Indonesian languages, Indonesia pun sama juga sengsara. Dan sekarang mereka sangat-sangat sengsara because of this COVID-19. A deplorable, undesirable state of suffering or wretchedness in material or immaterial senses, or in physical and in Islam, spiritual dimensions of human existence. Kesengsaraan from Islamic perspective. When you don't have, when in the Quran, when Allah says Allah is not going to look at you on the day of judgment. Wah, sengsaranya. You know, He's not going to look at you. He's not even to call your name. Allah Akbar. What a great samsara. And then to be called, Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutma'inna, irji'i ila rabbiki radiyatan mardiyya, fadkhuli fi ibadi, wadkhuli jannati. What a great joy. Yeah. Okay. So, the Arabic term for loss, doom, suffering, perdition, damage, depravity, and corruption is al-khusran, from the root khasira, which means to lose. And then I give you the dictionary meanings of khasira, khusran, khasara, khasir. And then you look at the verses. Of course, I use Surah Al-Asr and many other verses. Then Allah says also, just to show why khusran is to be avoided, because Allah says in the Quran, وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ لَا يَشْكُرُونَ لَا يَفْقَهُونَ dan لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Tetapi kebanyakan manusia tidak beriman. Kebanyakan manusia tidak percaya. Kebanyakan manusia tidak mengetahui. Kebanyakan manusia, this is worse, tidak bersyukur. We in the modern world, we have used all the resources of Allah without being grateful to Him. And now He sends a reminder by using this virus, not even a living thing. You know, just distribute sikit-sikit, bagi-bagi sikit-sikit. Dah teruk lah, tak boleh bangun semua. Tak tahulah Trump boleh survive atau tidak. Because he took also this apa tu yang anti-malaria apa itu kan. Itu maknanya the egoism, the arrogant of Trump. Review Allah mah. Kalau menang lagi dia in this November, then to me that's the end of the American eagle. And not the world lah. World. InsyaAllah kita ada. Kita ada. Dia tak ada. And is to me, kalau menang lagi, is the end of America. Tak kira lah embassy rekod tak rekod. Tak kira hamba Amerika. Okay, macam mana ni nak okay. Okay. Fasiqun. Most of them are fasiqun. Fasik juga. Allahu Akbar. Lepas tu this is lagi lah. Allah kata alladzina khasiru anfusahum. They lost themselves. Lepas tu worse lagi, ada lagi. Worse ialah apa tu? Mana ada worse lagi? Okay, ada worse lagi. Al-akhsarun. Yang paling teruk hilangnya. Worst type of losers. Siapa dia? Those who turn others away from the path of Allah. Dia sekat orang berdakwah untuk Islam. Dia tak suka orang dakwah untuk Islam. Dia sekat. Sekarang ni di India dia bunuh. Dia buat macam-macam di Myanmar dan sebagainya. Dan macam-macam lagi lah. Okay, I come to the end. Dr. Zainuddin, you're very happy, ya? At the end. Dia tanya dalam hati dia, bila Prof nak habis ni? I'm coming to the end. In fact, this is the end, because there is no conclusion, because tak sempat nak buat conclusion. So conclusion will come later. Without references juga. Tak ada references. Tak sempat nak buat. The qalb at the center of human personality. Okay? Now, Tan Sri Zul, ever since masa di USIM dan di ACAP, programs of ACAP and USIM, they talk about qalb-based leadership, qalb-driven leadership. Tan Sri Zul developed that in his discourses on sejahtera. But now we need to give the Islamic content of it. Yeah? Islamic content. Okay. Because the qalb has many diseases, and Tan Sri Zul spoke about the importance of cleaning the heart and all that. And in all his lectures, especially lately in the last 2 years or so, he has been giving the emphasis on the qalb, the heart. And remember his beautiful infographs, the heart, denyut lagi, gundang, otak, gundang, otak dengan jantung and all that, Masya Allah. I need 2 weeks to learn from him. So, jadi now, to make it short, because this is very important, but because at the time, I want to go to the model. Okay? Because this is a very good model, which was developed by a British convert, Dr. Abdullah Rahman, who is an Islamic psychologist attached to Cambridge Muslim College. And in the last Ramadan, I followed his midnight moments. And among his lectures, very brief, 20 minutes, just lecture there. Okay, let's see, is it possible to get this? Macam mana nak make sure we can bring it down, ya? Nak duduk tengah. Macam mana? Susah ke? Ya? Macam mana, Prof? Oh, okey, okey. Oh. Oh, tak apalah.
Ini tak.
Okeylah, okeylah. Okey. Okey. Okey, good, good.
Okay.
Tak boleh nampak ke words? Tak nampak, eh? Oh, tak nampak words. Okay. Never mind. Because anyway, but this is a very important result of research. He conducted this research. He interviewed 18 specialists, experts in the Islamic psychology, expert in Western psychology, and then developed this, which is very, very useful because I've been thinking about this for many, many years. Benda yang abstract. Macam mana nak put in ini? Tan Sri Zul boleh dia buat, mungkin dia boleh ni. Bergerak lagi tu. Boleh nyawa. Hak kita nak tak atas kertas pun tak boleh. Aduh, dia boleh nyawa gerak. Dung-dak. Hah? Sorry? 3 dekade. Tambah soal lagi, Pak. Okey, atas kalau ada pointer, I can point, tapi tak ada pointer. Kalau mana ni ya? Ada ya? Okey, oh, good, okay. Thank you, Prof. Thank you. Ni lah. Baik dengan orang engineer ni ada pedo. Okey. Atas sekali Allah dan akhirah. Ali atas tu akhirah. Ali bawah syaitan dan dunia. Kan? Jadi okey, hak mana ni? Mana? Oh, ni. Okey. Thank you. Okey. Okey, sini nah. Ni Allah, atas tu akhirah. Bawah ni dunia, syaitan. Syaitan, bawah tu dunia. So, hati kita duduk tengah ni. Sorry, using Kelantan language pada. Patutnya tak boleh pakar tu. Anyway, now, this is the center, right? This is the self, man. This is man. It has, at the top is ruh, the spirit from Allah. Okay? At the bottom is nafs, the lower self. At the center is qalb, tapi dia buat dua, just to show you. Tapi sepatutnya satu, qalb dengan akal. Akal on the right, qalb di tengah-tengah. Actually, qalb duduk tengah. Akal is a function of qalb. That is the most important thing that we need to know, which is very, very different from the West. Because mind and intellect are supposed to be in the brain. The heart is supposed to take care of emotions. But dalam Al-Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers only to qalb. There's no word akal in the Quran. Bukan berarti akal tak wujud. Tapi it's to show that qalb is the most important thing that we need to take care of. And akal is the intellectual the intellecting function of the qalb, the reasoning function of the qalb, the rational intelligence capacity of the qalb. In addition to the qalb having the emotional capacity, yeah, emosi. Ni filem Hindu India ada banyak sini lah. Emosi ya, dalam jantung, hati. Melayu juga. Emotion. But it's also a seed of intuition. Dia dapat ilham daripada Allah. Divine intuition. Dia dapat knowledge, ilm. Di mana knowledge of Allah goes into the heart of the Prophet. Quran says, the knowledge from Allah goes into the heart of the Prophet, the qalb of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wahyu pun masuk dalam qalb of Allah. So the qalb is a single spiritual entity with multi-functionality. And one of it, the cognitive function, is the akal. And antara ini, now, Imam Ghazali tells us very nicely, apa namanya, analogy Imam Ghazali is, the qalb is raja dalam diri kita. Akal is Perdana Menteri. Perdana Menteri yang baiklah. Akal Perdana Menteri. Nafsu ni the guardians, askar-askar. Tapi askar ni mudah dirasuahkan. oleh syaitan. Jadi dia tarik kita ke bawah, dia tarik kepada sini, apa namanya, sini ialah an-nafsul ammarah bisu. Ya. Sini ialah al-muhlikat, benda-benda yang merosakkan kita. So nafsu ni tarik kita ke bawah. Tarik kita ke bawah dan kita juga mengalami apa dikatakan oleh Quran, ghaflah, heedlessness, lupa. Manusia lupa, jadi syaitan pun gunakan peluang ini melalui influence the nafs dan juga nafsu amarah dan juga melalui sifat-sifat buruk menarik kita ke bawah. Sedangkan roh nak tarik kita ke atas. And the qalb is at the center. The qalb, the roh is pure spirit. But the one that influences us is qalb. So the qalb needs the light, the divine light from the roh, which the roh gets from Allah. So the divine light comes from Allah through the roh. Roh bagi kepada qalb. Qalb can then illuminate the nafs yang lain. Sehingga nafs lawamah jadi nafs amarah jadi nafs lawamah, the blaming self, akhirnya menjadi the self at rest, the soul at rest, or the soul of tranquility. Tapi most people, hopefully including myself, are in this center. Lawamah. Mana kita buat tak baik, kita ingat, kita taubat. Buat pula, taubat lagi. Buat pula, taubat lagi. Di sini ialah tempat-tempat para anbiya, sahabat, awliya, as-salihin, orang baiklah yang duduk sini. Yang mungkin dicapai juga oleh orang lain. Tapi most of us are here. This is where he says, Dr. Abdullah, this is the battleground. This is the battleground that we go through every day in ourselves, bukan luar, in ourselves. Between the pull of the ruh and the pull of the nafs, the pull of amara and the pull of the upward pull of al-mutma'innah. And this one, this one al-munjiyat, sifat-sifat yang positif yang baik, pulling us upward. So the human personality is in attention, as Iqbal said. Human personality is within attention between the impulses towards that which is good, righteous, sacred, and the impulses to evil, to the worldly enjoyments. Okay? So this is very important. So the qalb is at the center, and the qalb, because it's dynamic, is called qalb. Benda yang bergolak, turning around, is called qalb. And we need to tenangkan dia, isikan dia dengan benda-benda yang iman, amal saleh yang baik-baik tadi, sehingga membawa this ourselves becoming a nafsul mutma'innah, and at the end we are going to be called by Allah, at least, if not nafsul mutma'innah, at least as Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam says, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ. On the day in which your wealth and your children are of no use to you, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ إِلَّا مَنْ, except those who come to Allah biqalbin salim, dengan hati, dengan qalb yang salim, yang sound, yang sehat, tidak ada unsur syirik dalamnya, tidak ada unsur kufur dalamnya, tidak ada unsur riak dalamnya, tidak ada unsur takabur dalamnya, tidak ada unsur dengki, hasad dalamnya, tidak ada unsur cinta pada dunia, cinta kepada ini, cinta pada isteri tak apa, ya. Cinta kepada hubbud dunya wa karahiyatul maut. Itu yang harus kita bersihkan. Okay, so it's from him, and I am going to stop there. So I have several quotations from him, but as I said here, you can see that to be concluded in the near future, inshallah. Written at 12 a.m., but actually I finished around 1:30, sambung balik at 8 o'clock this morning. Patutlah pukul 10. Tapi dia ingat pukul 10. Wallahi. Ini wallahi, ini betul ni. Wallahi dia ingat pukul 10. So I took it, okay lah, sempat lah. The latest I need to arrive is 9:30. And driver kata, oh don't worry, Prof, 9:30 kita boleh sampai. And dia datang pun 8:30. Pasal, in my mind, and this is my fault. Sorry, Prof, it's my fault. So thank you very much for your time, Puan Sri. Thank you very much. I think you may want to go and give my salam to Tan Sri. We pray for him always, inshallah. Okay, thank you very much, and I seek your forgiveness. Of course, I am ready. Sure. Your forgiveness for my shortcomings and mistakes, and also for taking too long a time. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. بارك الله فيك. جزاك الله خير, Prof. Kamal. MashaAllah, I think we invite him to give a Murabbi series. He give us a new textbook. Yes, there's a new textbook that we have to study and do more research and all these things.
I put the conclusions and references plus the things, it can be a reference.
Almost there, inshallah. Okay, so thank you very much, Prof.
Okay, well.
Of course, I think indeed we have learned a lot from today's deliberation. Because of the time, I just want to mention one or two things. One thing that I learned from today is your definition of sejahtera insan to be holistic well-being, success and happiness in the world, in this world and in the hereafter. I think that's a very good definition of sejahtera, man. And of course, related to that, we have collected a few questions from our online participants. So maybe I start with that while people in the room can think about your question. So listening to you, Prof, we are trying to relate what our university has been doing, the Islamization, integration, blah, blah, blah. So one question here is, how can we connect these two, the Islamization, integration, comprehensive excellence to the sejahtera concept? Is it, sejahtera is maybe the end result of Islamization? Maybe, I'm not sure. So maybe you want to comment on this first? Yeah, how to relate this to.
Thank you very much, Prof. Faris. Yes, I think this is a very good question indeed, because when we formulated the vision and mission, we were not even thinking of sejahtera, but because we were an Islamic university, and the background for the establishment of this Islamic university is the you might say the movement of Muslim intellectuals all over the world at the advent of the 15th century Hijrah, that is the year 1978. It was thought that we are going into a century in which Islam would prevail, and we would no longer be under the influence of colonial or imperial control in education, economics, politics, what have you. So the idea of Islamicization of human knowledge, meaning knowledge coming from the Western secular perspectives, will have to be reviewed, filtered, Islamicized, and deconstructed, so that either they can be adopted or we come up with our own new indigenous local products, as Tan Sri Zul has been doing in USM, the indigenization of local knowledge, local wisdom, hikmah, kebijaksanaan lokal. So Islamization at that time was a very broad vision covering economics in particular. In fact, the economies were ahead of the educationists in this regard. Also of law, because Muslim countries were governed by secular law, including Malaysia. So we need to de-secularize the legal system and all that. So you have the law faculty. That's why we started with law faculty and economics faculty. Okay. Now, with this sejahtera discourse and narrative, and also now becoming part of our university, we need to blend the two. We need to blend. We need to blend, fuse, integrate in the best possible manner. For instance, let's say, for instance, Prof. Faris mentioned Sejahtera. In fact, anything Islamic has to have the otherworldly dimension. Otherwise, it's not Islamic. And then also seeking the pleasure of Allah. Okay? The niyyah. And then the means have to be good. So, whatever we are doing in the name of Sejahtera should also be related to Islamicization of human knowledge, which means bringing in the Quranic, Sunnatic concepts to complete the Malay concept of Sejahtera. Okay? So Islamicization also means making things in conformity with Islam. Making things so there are Sejahtera-related programs, projects, which they are all in harmony with Islam. They are already Islamic. But if they're not in harmony, then we need to Islamicize, yeah? the content of all those projects, concepts, what have you. Similarly with integration. At that time, in the beginning, when we thought of integration, it was actually integration of knowledge, okay? But the word integration has many other meanings and connotations. Political integration, economic integration, even regional integration, ethnic integration, and so on. But in our university, we're talking about the need to bring the human knowledge, the product of the intellect, in line with revealed knowledge. And the word used in Mecca Conference 77 was revealed knowledge. Yeah? Al-ulum allati ussisat ala al-wahi. And then al-ulum al-aqliyah, or al-ulum al-dunyawiyah. Al-ulum al-dunya, al-Ghazali, ulum al-dunya, ulum al-din. Okay? So, but it's not just, it is not integration of people on the same status. No. Ulum al-din is the one that decides the values. The values are provided by deen. The substance is provided by dunya. Okay? But so the direction is provided by deen. The end is defined by deen. Okay? The means defined by, values defined by deen. But the substantive knowledge can come from anywhere. Okay? From you might say positive knowledge. I'm using the word positive in the legal sense, like wada'i. Okay, now, so we should avoid any form of contradiction, Prof. Yeah? Harmonization is important. And what Tan Sri Zul has done, to me, that's why when he links our university with the UNESCO SDE, to me that SDG and also SDE. Okay, RCE, sorry. Regional Center for Expertise. That is taking Islamization to a higher level, to an international level, which we have also dreamt about, but did not know how to do it. What we did was we went to universities overseas, buat MOU sana sini kan, internationalization kan, buat MOU sampai some. I never went to South Africa, but Tan Sri Prof. Syed Arabi, alhamdulillah, managed to spread the mission of Islam to Brazil, so on. So internationalization and Islamization was seen from a very restricted perspective. But Tan Sri Zul opened this up. And we have a new horizon now, a big horizon. Number one. Number two, he brings us into engagement with the world. Not just talking about the, I have been talking about the world in my room. I have been lecturing to the wall in my room. You know, I have been talking to the converted. Bagi khutbah kepada orang yang converted. Yeah? Ding dong, year by year. Tan Sri Zul took us out of this campus and brought us in contact with United Nations, in contact with Universitas 21, in contact with other centers of RCEs. Now there are 21. Berapa center? Huh? Sorry? 200 centers. So putting us on the world map, which we wanted to do for a long time. And that's good. Okay? So, so these are some of the ways, Prof, that we need to do. And this has to be a two-way traffic. So Sejahtera, from a Malay concept, gets its values and ends and means from Islam. Okay? Because it is the deen. Deen, ad-dinul Islami, is the one that provides you that. And it's coming from Allah. You cannot have Sejahtera unless it is approved by Him. Isn't it? So that's why what is being done now, macam greening of the campus, is good. You know, we need to take care of, and this is another good thing about Islamization. We never thought about environmental consciousness. But Tan Sri Zul came and then took us to nature. We thought just happy with being a garden of knowledge and virtue. Ya. Cukup lah, garden ya. Lepas duduk belakang bukit cantik hijau. Cukup lah, cukup dah. But Zul takes us to the jungle and to the orang asli. Of course, we did that too before, but not consciously, not programmed as such, not under a certain concept. So all this to me is other forms of Islamicization or Islamiyat ulum al-jami'ah or Islamiyat al-jami'ah. So, okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Okay.
Maybe I can open for one question from the hall, if there is any. Ada, Prof. Ida. Yes.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Law, Sharia.
No. Based on your presentation on the concept of Sejahtera, should UIA propose to the government of Malaysia to change wawasan kemakmuran bersama to wawasan kesejahteraan bersama as our 10-year development plan moving forward?
Ida, you're asking the wrong man. Shared prosperity was promoted by Tone. Okay, Tone. Tan Sri Zul has of course endorsed that as well, and I of course endorse that too, not because it came from Tone or whoever, you know, but because it's a good idea that prosperity has to be shared, right? Of course, it's all rhetorics, political rhetorics. Let's not forget. The test is in the implementation. Are you going to give to your cronies? Yeah? Your cronies will share, or your cronies will get the bigger share. Okay, so the problem is not so much slogans, Ida. It's not the rhetoric, it's the substance. But it is a good rhetoric. And maybe if Tone is no longer around, somebody can, like for instance to me, Rahmatan il Alamin, for instance, Wasatiyah. Even penerapan nilai-nilai Islam should all be brought together because all that is from the Quran. It's in harmony with the Quran and the Sunnah. So we depoliticize those concepts. As I told Pak Lah dulu, why Pak Lah gagal untuk Islam Hadari itu tak di pick up. I said, Pak Lah, we need to depoliticize, number one, depersonalize, jangan jadi milik Pak Lah. And finally, de-ummatize. Ummatize. Ummatization of the concept. Jadikan konsep umat, bukan konsep pemimpin politik. Barulah dia boleh hidup. Because wasatiyah is so fundamental. Allah wanted us to be wasati. Allah wants us to carry out rahmatan lil alamin. Allah wants us to apply the Islamic values in all, the values of iman, amal saleh, taqwa, ihsan, hubbullah, infused in all our actions. So itu to me, we as a university, we stay above politics. We take all these things objectively, which I have always done. Is it in consonance with the Quran and the Sunnah or not? And if the niyyah is good, okay lah, then we can take. So, Ida, kemakmuran bersama dengan kesejahteraan bersama, why do we send you to talk to the politicians? Spend some time with the politicians. If you cannot do that, ask your lesser half to do it, because you are the better half.
That's his question, actually.
Oh, his question. Okay, then please ask him, salam li alayhi, ask him to go and tell the politicians. Okay, thank you.
Maybe the last question.
Okay.
Okay, maybe the last question is, I think, I mean, listening to your story about the development of FKN at that time,
Yeah.
Faculty,
Falsafah Pendidikan
Negara,
Negara pada masa itu.
FPN at that point,
FPN,
and
yeah.
you were one of the
people
the team who drafted it.
Consulted,
Yeah.
and then I did
all right.
I did submit my draft,
All right.
and basically it is in line with that.
All right.
Basically, apa tujuan dia, and then how it relates to the masyarakat negara.
Okay, but you also mentioned that in your talk that it should be also understood from the perspective of Islam, even though Islam is not mentioned, but
Correct.
the what you call it, the basic philosophy,
Yeah.
basic understanding, basic goal is there's some Islamic values. related to
Definitely.
that. So that's what there is one question from the Zoom participant saying that some people, when they read the word sejahtera, is only refer to maybe the world.
Okay.
Whereas, I mean, like what you have presented, is beyond that. I mean, also in the hereafter. So how can we reconcile this issue? I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, thank you, Prof. I think that's a good question. And particularly for our non-Muslim brothers and sisters and co-citizens in this country, the word sejahtera is used. And of course, they have to relate it to their own religions or philosophies or worldviews. So we have to define it from the Islamic perspective because we want to relate it to us as Muslims, right? But we cannot force our definitions, our understanding upon the non-Muslims. Okay? We can't force them to say kepatuhan. Kepercayaan dan kepatuhan kepada Tuhan means taat kepada Allah. Tak boleh lah. Because Allah has a different meaning to us than to them. So we need to, in other words, when you use these concepts as sejahtera, tadi apa, shared prosperity, kan? We need to give an Islamic definition for the practice of Muslims and for the understanding of non-Muslims. Umpamanya, for instance, the issue of drinking liquor, isn't it? Has become political issue under CMO. Well, we have to be sejahtera, you cannot take liquor. But maybe for them, you have to take liquor to be sejahtera. Mungkin bagi dia. If I don't get a cup of whiskey every day, I don't feel sejahtera. Sejahtera. For us, ialah a different perspective. Kita mesti hormat dia. Bagi orang-orang yang on drugs, dia tak dapat itu, dia tak sejahtera, dia sengsara. Dia sengsara. So this is of course I think the wisdom of Tan Sri Zul, that he was able to export a Malay product to Korea and maybe other countries as well. Because somehow he does not highlight the Islamic connotations, but he did say is beyond, well-being, beyond it. And then there is a spiritual dimension, but he doesn't explain the content of that spiritual dimension, because the spiritual dimension to us basically is hubungan kita dengan Allah. Itu iman kita dengan Allah. But Tan Sri Zul uses the word spiritual dimension. The heart is being now used in the West as well. Tapi the understanding of the heart in the West is different from our understanding of the qalb in Islam. So, tak apalah. But at least we need to make people aware of the Islamic perspective without forcing others. As we have been doing in this university for the last 35 years, we do not force people. We explain, we impart, we engage, we try to make them understand, but never to make them accept Islam because of us. But they have accepted Islam because they see the good character in some of us, maybe, alhamdulillah. So, Prof. Faris, FRN, of course, has been changed to FRK, isn't it? Falsafah, FPM, Falsafah Pendidikan, now it's kebangsaan. Kebangsaan. Now, some people even question why talking about a good citizen, because that's why in our university, this is where, maybe also in USIM, I do not know, but in our university, because we are international from the beginning, USIM started as a national university, and therefore bound by the falsafah pendidikan negara. Kita tidak bound by falsafah pendidikan negara atau kebangsaan. Falsafah pendidikan Islam was the one that influenced our curriculum building. Okay? We started as a company. This university doesn't even belong to Malaysia. Pelik kan? It's a paradox. It belongs to the Board of Governors, which includes Malaysia. Mana shared property lah. Shared, not prosperity, sebab kita tidak prosperous lagi. Share juga? Tak share juga. Bolok kita semua. Kapek je. Dia pun bagi kapek je. Kapek pun jut kapek je. Bukannya woolen kapek. So, jadi now, so that's why kita kena juga talk about the Islamic philosophy of higher education. Okay? There are overlaps. Dalam insan sejahtera, dalam kesejahteraan diri, fine. But falsafah pendidikan Islam, as formulated in the Meccan Conference of 1977, and I was lucky to be there, came out in the book. Falsafah pendidikan Islam. We should be guided by that. So, citizenship is just one stage. Tapi dalam falsafah kebangsaan, you stop at citizenship. We don't go beyond. Tapi kalau falsafah pendidikan Islam, in fact, what IIU is trying to do, as Prof. Faris said in several meetings before, is to implement, in a way, that concept of holistic, integrated vision of education, di mana ilmu dunia dan ilmu agama digabung jalin. Of course, USIM makes it very, very clear in the philosophy of al-jam'u bainal uqul, bainal ilmu naqli dan ilmu aqli. They make it very, very clear. Tapi kita dalam konsep integration ada persamaan. I don't see it as something different. It's just a different way of formulating it and articulating it. So from time to time, we need also to make people aware of the falsafah pendidikan as conceived by Muslim educationists, the experts in the field. For instance, the idea of the idea of education as to produce al-insan as-salih, I read it first time dalam buku Muhammad Qutb, At-Tarbiyah al-Islamiyah, which he wrote in the 70s or 60s. And I read it when I was in UKM. So then I used the idea of pendidikan ialah untuk melahirkan insan saleh, the virtuous, the righteous human being. Bukannya the good citizen. Of course, Prof. Naqib pun cakap begitu. But in my case, I got it from Muhammad Qutb. And I found that book very, very useful indeed, even to this day. So itulah sedikit ya, Prof, on the falsafah pendidikan negara. And but well, this is another topic lah. How is it going to be implemented? But Tan Sri Zul came out with a good book, edited with Rosnani Hashim, Falsafah Pendidikan Negara from a New Perspective. Yeah? The educational, apa in Malay, apa nama falsafah pendidikan negara, kebangsaan dari perspektif yang baru, something like that. Is there an English version to it? Tak ada kan? Oh, okay. So that's good. But he highlights all that. But Tan Sri Zul is saying you need to go back to the philosophy. What I agree is, for Malaysia, yes. But for the whole Muslim world, we need to go back to the philosophy of education in the Quran and the Sunnah. Khalas. Okay?
Okay, last question, which is I started with the beginning. How is all this thing with your Vision 2077 project? Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Very much, thank you very much. Now, Vision 2077 is about how we have to prepare the next generation, the younger generation, for a better Muslim Ummah in 2077. Actually, November 18, 17, 2076, when the 16th century will come to Malaysia. Ada tak ada Malaysia, wallah tak tahu lagi lah. Tak apalah. We leave all those imponderables to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah? What's going to happen to us? But we have to plan. At least we set the goals, we set the foundations, and let others then, revise, rework, redo, correct, blah, blah, all the way until 2777. Okay. Now, this is relevant to our conceptualization of sejahtera, because we are going to talk in Malay to the younger generation out there, because our work is in English. We're going to, hopefully, Prof, we come up with a book, inshallah. All the clusters, what are the clusters we put together in one book, including Ida punya cluster, put in one book in English, then get somebody to translate it, and then we go out. So we will have to come up with kesejahteraan juga. We got to talk about al-falah. Maknanya the ultimate goals too, kan? The goals, I'm going to work after this. Starting tomorrow, Prof, I'm going to work on the new vision for 2077. So I have to bring in the goals, the ends, which a deen prescribes. What kind of society? The wasatiyah comes in, khairiyah comes in, all that. And then the kesejahteraan comes in also. So it can be part of it. It can be part of it. And I'm going to also make it part of it, inshallah, so that whatever institution, whatever organization in IIUM which is working on that should be able to get on board of Vision 2077. Or Vision 2077 could get on board of the Sejahtera vision. So it is what you call it, a synergy of of two actually not identical visions, but closely related visions. Okay, Prof? Okay.
So I think with that, it's almost 12 o'clock. So we take this opportunity to thank Professor Kamal for his insightful ideas, looking forward, Vision 2077, and how we can bring the Sejahtera concept into the framework, as well as how to bring our university forward, inshallah. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your good deeds, Prof, and give you the strength to continue your jihad, inshallah. Okay, thank you very much. With that, I will pass the session to our brother, Dr. Zainuddin. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Prof. Faris. A lot to chew, a lot to digest. Hopefully, everybody takes time to do that. As a request, Prof, about your manuscript today, is it half baked, completely baked? Somebody wants
not complete, but it can be distributed already. It's not complete because there's no conclusion yet.
All right.
Conclusion is coming, maybe after 1 week. Because I've got to work on other things.
Before we post it to our website, would you like to complete it first, or can we post it as it is?
I think that's better, isn't it?
Is it?
So I work on it tomorrow, inshallah. And then maybe in a couple of days, I'll finish the conclusion plus the references.
Okay.
The bibliography is not there.
All right. Okay.
So give me a couple of days.
Okay. So for the person who's requesting, the persons who are requesting this, I hope you be patient. We will post it on our website, KCA website, hopefully by next week, end of next week.
Inshallah.
Okay. As in, well, we're talking about Sejahtera in Malay culture, you always have tokens. Okay. So I would like to invite...
Is Islamic token or not? No.
So we like to invite Puan Sri Masrah Bidin to give away our token of appreciation to Prof. Kamal and Prof. Ahmad Faris. We have a copy of the certificate, Prof, on the UIA becoming the regional center.
A lot of reading materials. Hopefully this CFO will continue. Yeah. Oh, which one? The first one. Oh, okay. MashaAllah. Essay on Sejahtera. Latest. Of course, with the heart there. He always has the heart.
All right.
The heart is only for Puan Sri.
Kita minum makan. Ni dia minum pakai straw. There's a copy. Prof. Faris dia tak tahu kita ngai dia tu. Okay. For Prof. Faris tu?
Ada juga.
Dia ada. Ada. Zul. Dia kat Puan Sri. And can I invite Associate Professor Dr. Zulkifli to hand over the token for Puan Sri? Oh. Okay, Alhamdulillah. We have come to the end of our session. We'd like to thank Prof. Kamal Hassan for his willingness to deliver his talk, and hopefully he would come back for more sessions. And also to Prof. Faris for his willingness to be the moderator. We apologize for any shortcomings, particularly on the small number of audience in this hall, and also the number of questions that we can entertain in this session. Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you in the next Murabbi session. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Attendees in the hall, lunch is served at the banquet hall.